Okay, if you go into your future, we are going to cover. Okay, we're going to cover this. Boleh nampak ke ni? Slide ni?
Nampak Doktor?
Okay, cuba buka dulu slide masing-masing. Okay, nampak full slide ke? Nampak yang sharingnya?
Full slide Doktor.
Okay, full slide. Okay, now is week 10. Okay, we have about 4 weeks to go before you go into your final assessment week. So basically, you have discussed with me, you have discovered regarding our course, which is on human motor system. Okay, we have covered regarding the introduction part, the history, and then the brain information, the brain processing with Dr. Farha, and then we move into postural and locomotion system. Okay, how does we govern our human motor system? And then now we are moving into chapter 5. Okay, we are moving to chapter 5. Okay, which is that we are going to discuss a bit more on the theoretical aspect. Okay, more on the theoretical aspect of how we are going to control our human movement. Okay, how we going to control our human movement. So basically, okay, for this chapter number 5, information processing and analytical system. So basically, based on the topics, okay, information processing. Okay, based on the topic on information processing means that, okay, we as a human beings, okay, we relies on our sensory information, okay, sensory organ, so that we're going to detect information from our environments. So basically, we use our eyes to see, okay, we use our tactile information on our fingers to feel, okay, some object. Okay, let's say I'm holding this bottle, for example, I can feel the texture, I can feel the size. Okay, I also can feel the weight of this particular object. Okay, when I want to move this object, I can feel the movement, okay, of the fluid inside the object, and also my proprioceptors can sense, okay, how much pressure are exerted on the object, and when I keep on moving that particular object, I also can feel, okay, how fast or how slow, okay, my arm movement, okay, for example. So basically, based on this chapter, okay, we're going to discuss how does we as a human beings, okay, try to detect information, okay, try to detect information so that our brain can process, okay, how to detect information so that our brain can process, so that we can perform a very skillful movement performance. So basically, in this course, human motor system, when you are studying motor control learning, okay, we try to discover how does, okay, an elite performer can perform a very skillful movement behavior. Okay, how does an elite performer, okay, can perform a very skillful movement behavior. So to become an elite performer, they have to move from stages of learning. Okay, stages of learning. The first one is the cognitive stage. Second is the second is the associative stage. The third one is the autonomous stage. So they have to go through from the first to the second, from the second to the third stage. So this will take about 10 years of practice time, or 10,000 hours of practice time. So when they move from the first stage to the second stage to the third stage, there are some changes that occurs to them. Okay, there are some changes that occurs to them. Okay, from the first part, they doesn't know how to use their muscle correctly. Okay, just imagine yourself. Okay, when you try to drive a car, when you try to ride a bicycle, when you try to kick a ball, when you try to drive a motorcycle, for example. Okay, you tend to freeze. Okay, you tend to freeze. Okay, you have your angle, you have your, let's say, your range of motion that freely to you to move, but during the first time you want to perform that particular motor skill performance, you tend to lock, okay, your angle, your joint, for example, you tend to lock. Means that there is a limited movement, okay, on the available joints that you have, the available range of motion of joints that you have, okay, during the initial part of your you are trying to perform that particular movement. So means that during the first stage of learning, you tend to freeze your degrees of freedom. Okay, you tend to freeze your degrees of freedom. Okay, try to remember back. Cuba ingat balik masa kamu kecil dulu. Kamu cuba sepak bola, kamu cuba berlari, for example, you try to drive a car. Okay, masa kamu buat kereta, you tend to lock, okay, your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder. Okay, when you want to move the steering, okay, the whole body is moving. So when you move further, okay, you know how to do coordination. Okay, you know how to do sequencing of the muscle movement. So this will be discussed under information processing, okay, and also the numerical system. How does we receive information? Okay, how good we are in processing information, and how does this can be translated into movement behavior. Okay, for example. So basically in this chapter, okay, we're going to look into some model of information processing. Okay, we also going to look into the numerical system approach, and then we also going to look into ecological model of understanding human motor behavior. All right. Okay, to start with our chapter for today, okay, we have to know about theories. Okay, theory, it can describe a large class of observation. Okay, make definite prediction about result of future observation. So basically, okay, with motor learning and control, theories focus on explaining human behavior. Okay, siapa hari tu yang tengok masa Malaysia lawan Indonesia last game AFF Cup yang Malaysia kalah. Saya ulang balik yang Malaysia kalah. So what can you tell to the class? What is the behavior of our football players masa tu? Anyone? Yang tengok bola? Yang masa live tu Malaysia lawan Indonesia kan? Berapa Malaysia kena? Rizwan? Kaki bola ke tak?
Tak sempat duduk.
Ha?
Tak sempat tengok.
Siapa yang tengok dalam kelas ni? Ada? Okay, we are going to try to apply, okay, to apply theories to sport performance. So that's why we're going to study. Okay, that's why the use of study, okay, in the higher level, high degree level, okay, we try to apply sports science knowledge, okay, to sport performance. So everything that we study in the classroom, okay, we try to relate, okay, what is happening or what was happening, okay, in the real life situation. Okay. Izudin, dah tengok bola itu?
Tak tengok, tapi saya tahu result dia.
Based on the result, what you can say? How does we can relate to?
Saya rasa dia sebab kita dah leading 1-0.
Okay.
Then tiba-tiba Indon comeback jadi 4-1, macam mungkin dia dah overconfident kot.
So Izudin said that, okay, we are overconfident, and then how does this reflect to the skill performance? Usually lah, kalau let's say you as sports person Izudin, okay, when you are overconfident with your skill, so what will happen to our skill? Does it will become better, or sometimes it will deteriorate or become poor?
I think it will become poor if we expect something low, that the opponent is low standard than us, then
Okay.
Suddenly the team is better than us.
Alright. So based on Izudin explanation just now, okay, he tried to relate some theories. Okay, for example, how to explain our Malaysian football players' behavior. Okay, when they are leading and when they are not leading. Leading and not leading. Leading tu 1-0 lah. Okay, not leading masa dah ketinggalan 2-1. So basically with motor learning and control theories, okay, theories can use motor learning and control theories to explain human behavior. So basically, okay, if you have the chance to use this textbook, motor learning and control ni, okay, dalam ni ada banyak teori. Okay, this is the fundamental lah. So before you take up this subject, okay, you need to have a very sound knowledge of motor learning and control at the undergraduate level. So means that in that area, so in that focus, okay, under motor learning and control, okay, there are topics on feedback, okay, there are topics on stages of learning, okay, there are topics on motor control, okay, defining learning, for example. So we can use that theories to explain how does our athletes form during the game. Okay, how does our athletes perform during the game? So basically, when we observe a game, kita tengok sukan lah, tak kisah sukan mana, for example, okay, we can predict what will happen, okay, based on our theories or based on our memory on that particular person. So you as a coach, okay, you as an instructor, okay, you as a trainer later on, okay, with the use of theories, you can predict what will happen to your performer. What will happen to your performer. Okay, for example, during training, you provide your learners with large numbers of corrective feedback. Okay, with a large numbers of corrective feedback. Corrective feedback means setiap kali player kamu buat silap, kamu stop, kamu betulkan dia. Setiap kali buat silap, pantang silap je, stop. Patutnya buat macam ni. Patutnya sepak macam ni. Okay, you have to keep like this. Okay, you have to throw like this, for example. Every time your learners produce some errors, okay, some mistakes, you tend to stop the game, you tend to stop the training, and then the learners, you can see the learners will improve. Okay, but during the game, you don't have the time, okay, to use that ability. Means that during the game, during the actual game, actual competition, you tak sempat pun nak bagi feedback. So dengan feedback, okay, with feedback and without feedback, you can see your learners' performance become poor. Okay, that relates to theories in motor control learning. So means that, okay, when we want to design training program and so on, okay, we need to know the importance of feedback to our learners. Okay, the content, the loading of feedback. Okay, for example, sebanyak mana nak bagi? How much is better? Okay, sorry, how much is good for that particular person? Okay, means that we cannot give 100% feedback. Basically, we just try to know, okay, to make him become better during competition. Okay, we just provide a little amount of information. Okay, that is, for example, okay, how does we can use theories from motor learning control to explain our performance human behavior. Okay, maybe some of you work in the gym, jadi instructor, for example. Okay, setiap kali silap, you betulkan, ataupun setiap kali silap, you just show some demonstration. So basically, maybe this person, they need some demonstration. Maybe some person, they need some information from you, verbally. Okay, for example. Maybe you as a coach, you have to provide modeling. Means that you have to show the correct technique. And you also have to show the wrong technique. So based on these theories in motor learning control, okay, we can explain human behavior. What will happen? Okay, provide explanation about people perform skill as they do, and then we also can identify variables through observation of these performers. Okay, variables through observation means that you as a coach, you as an instructor, you as a trainer, you have to watch. Okay, you have to use your eyes. Okay, you have to watch, you have to observe, you have to take note, and then you have to provide some information back, okay, to your learners. Okay, nowadays, okay, with the recent technology, okay, the coaches or the team, okay, not only using their raw eyes, but they use camera, okay, to record. Whether they can provide a live information or after a game or after training program, okay, they will analyze the video of the performance and then they will sit down with the players and then they will explain what was happening, okay, during the game. Okay, these of theories in motor learning control so that we can help our athletes become better and better in their skill performance. So that's the use of theories. Okay, next. Okay, now we're going to focus on motor control theories. Okay, describe and explains how the nervous system produce coordinated movement. Okay, basically on motor control theories, okay, we relies heavily on our nervous system. Okay, peripheral nervous system, central nervous system, for example. Okay, how does this structure produce a very skillful movement performance? Okay, a very skillful movement performance. Okay, not only skillful, but very much coordinated. Okay, very much coordinated. Okay, what is the importance of coordination? What is the importance of coordination? Okay, right now, all of you is an adult. Semua dah tua kan? Semua umur 25 ke atas kan? Ataupun 23 ke atas. Maksimum 30 ataupun ada kecuali Abdullah 40 kan? So it means that all of you is an adult. Okay, means that your daily life skill now is very much coordinated. Okay, cuba tengok cara kamu jalan, for example. Cuba tengok balik cara kamu drive kereta, cuba tengok balik cara kamu main sukan, for example. Okay, you can see a very smooth movement. Okay, performance on your skill that you perform every day. Okay, you run on treadmill. Okay, you walk. Okay, you drive a car. Okay, when you drive a car right now, okay, after 6 years or 10 years of driving, okay, your arm movement, your wrist movement, your head stability, your body posture, for example, become in good coordination pattern. Means that when you pull this up to turn left, okay, your right left, okay, straight away will follow the movement. Dia tak oppose. Kita tengok cara kamu kereta kan, kalau pegang dua tangan, kalau nak belok kiri, yang kanan akan tolak ke atas, yang kiri ni akan automatic turun bawah. So that is referring to coordination. Okay, contoh let's say saya nampak sini gambar Izzuddin dengan Ridwan dia sebab saya share screen, gambar dia tak nampak. So saya akan sebut nama dia dua ni lah. Izzuddin suka apa main? Izzuddin?
Saya main handball.
Handball.
Ha.
Handball, let's say in handball there are a lot of throwing. Throwing kan?
Passing, throwing.
Throwing, passing. So in throwing or passing, for example, okay, kalau semua boleh buat movement ni, cuba buat semua. Semasa cuma buat. Imagine ada bola dekat tapak tangan ni, tangan kanan, pegang and then backward, forward and then follow through. Ball release and then follow through. So you will feel that, okay, which joint is moving. Joint mana yang moving masa tu? Ini apa ni?
Shoulder.
Shoulder, this one?
Elbow.
Elbow, this. Is it moving? At the end it's moving kan?
LS.
Masa you nak throw, it's moving a bit. Okay, what about the wrist? Finger. Is it moving?
Finger grip bola.
Grip, masa nak release, moving kan? So if we track all joint movement all together by using video camera and then we put in a slow motion, you can see a very good coordination, okay, of elite performer. Means that at the first part, the shoulder angle will move first. Shoulder angle akan gerak dulu. Okay, berapa degree nak gerak? Contoh berapa degrees, how many degrees the shoulder will move, for example. Okay, once the shoulder is stop moving, the elbow will continue. Shoulder dah lock. Okay, and then once the elbow is stop moving, the wrist will play a part and then goes to the finger. Itu coordination dia. So if we track that movement, we can see coordination is being performed in very smooth line graph. Kita akan tengok, kita akan dapat tengok tu. Okay, later on I will show you regarding coordination based on my study. Okay, that was conducted in Singapore regarding the coordination of kick, for example. So when we talk about stages of learning, okay, stages of learning, kalau kita record movement of a novice, we ask them to throw, you can see their coordination is very awkward, it's very kelakar lah sebenarnya. Tiba-tiba elbow gerak dulu, lepas elbow barulah shoulder, tiba-tiba belum sampai lagi dah release. Means that all angles that we have on the right arms is not coordinated. So means that the use of motor control theories to describe and explain how does the nervous system can produce coordinated movement. Means that a very skillful movement performance. Kalau yang biasa tengok sukan, live matches, or you sometimes go to the stadium, dekat track ke, dekat mana-mana tempat, okay, you can see the elite performers, movement performance is very smooth. Okay, for those who play football, you can see, okay, the coordination pattern of that particular person is very smooth. And then when they repeat the same skill, contohnya free kick, you will see a similar pattern of movement coordination. Okay, you will see a similar pattern of movement coordination. This one can be tracked by joint angles, joint speed, and so on. Okay, for example, that's regarding coordination. Okay, refers to the motor skill. Okay, motor skills ni referring to any skill that you want to perform. Let's say Izzuddin play handball, throwing, passing, catching, running, for example, dribbling. Kalau Ridwan suka apa? Ridwan ambil lama.
Swimming tak tu?
Dekat tu. Swimming. Okay, you proper in the water, for example, the leg kicking. Okay, motor skill. The last part is very important, in a variety of environments. Okay, in a variety of environments. Let's say Izzuddin tadi main handball. Okay, dia biasa training dekat outdoor, dekat padang handball outdoor. Okay, tiba-tiba masa game, tempat tu daripada outdoor pergi indoor. So environment dah lain. Okay, so environment dah lain. So means that in any environments, your skill still going to be the same. Okay, with practice. With practice. Contoh paling dekat, for example, sekarang ni musim hujan kan? Okay, rainy season right now. I think all of you have driving license, dah ada lesen bawa kereta. Despite the weather condition, hot, raining, your skill of driving is still there. Ada tak dalam kelas ni kalau hujan dia berhenti terus, tak boleh bawa kereta? Ada ke? Kecuali hujan lebat sangat tak nampak. Okay, means that your skill in driving is still can be performed despite variety of environments. So if you bring this situation to sports setting, okay, if you bring the situation to sports setting, for example, let's say football, okay, some pitch using grass, pakai rumput biasa, cow grass. Training kalau tim-tim yang cika-cika yang ciput-ciput punya bajet tu, training dekat pada rumput biasa. Kadang potong, kadang tak potong. Kalau tak potong, pergerakan bola laju ke slow? Rumput tinggi, bola akan gerak laju ke slow?
Slow.
Basically slow. It will, because of friction between the surface to the ball will move a bit slower. Training dekat cow grass, okay, pergi away game provided by the away team from cow grass to kita ingat nama rumput turf lah, rumput kapet biasa yang hybrid tu. Dah berbeza environments dia. Cow grass to two different environment, but the players still have to perform football skill. And then game situation, fully turf. Okay, from slower movement of the ball to much more higher to much more faster to much more faster. Okay, double the speed of that if we compare to the original environment. But the players still have to know how to coordinate, okay, the lower limb muscle and upper limb muscle in order to stop the ball, in order to kick the ball. Okay, despite the environment is not the same. So same goes to us. Okay, kadang kita pergi kedai makan, dapat sudu tu pendek. Kat rumah sudu kita panjang kan. Okay, kadang kat rumah tu sudu panjang. Ataupun dekat rumah sudu tu, dia punya permukaan tu lebar. Pergi kedai dia ada sudu kecil je. Okay, we still have to eat by using the spoon. So we have to coordinate our finger so that it will move, okay, to the plate, okay, bring to our mouth to eat. So that happens to coordination pattern. So it means that we have to know how to verify our movement so that we can still achieve the objective of motor skill. Okay, class right now, okay, try to look for definition of motor skill. Your task afterwards, try to look for the definition of motor skill. Okay, because of motor skill is appeared here, motor skill. Okay, how does we can achieve the objective of performing the motor skill? Okay, dalam motor skill ada banyak. Okay, ada banyak jenis. Open motor skill, closed motor skill, gross, fine, discrete skill, continuous, for example. But how does it reflect to the objective or the definition of the motor skill? Okay, it means that ada objective, ada voluntary movement, and has to be learned. So how does it relate to coordination? So basically, okay, there's a bit on coordination, and then there's a little bit on degrees of freedom. Okay, DOF. If I say regarding DOF, this refers to degrees of freedom. Okay, sometimes we tend to freeze our DOF, sometimes we tend to unfrozen our DOF. Basically, for the first stage of learners, okay, under cognitive stage, they tend to freeze their degrees of freedom. Means that we can see their movement become rigid, nampak keras. Okay, for example. Boleh kelas, tekan ni. Any questions? Baru 2 slide ni. Any question class?
Kalau
proceed. Okay.
Doktor cakap tadi yang apa? Dia tak effect environment, tak effect motor skill kan? Dia kalau macam performance dia effect tak?
Motor skill and performance is the same. Basically is the same. Okay, motor skill
kalau macam dia macam tadi handball training dekat outdoor.
Okay.
Tu tiba-tiba main kat indoor. Tiba dia punya performance tu merosot sikit. Ada effect tak? Macam mana?
Okay, performance will be down. Okay, and then you have to look at the specific motor skill. Okay, dalam handball ada throwing, ada catching, ada passing. So which part of motor skill is deteriorate? Okay, because of the changes of environment. So basically, okay, for elite performers, okay, we try to eliminate, okay, the factors of environment to their motor skill performance. We try to eliminate. Kita tak nak ada factor tu. Okay, contoh dekat Liga Bola Sepak Malaysia, okay, Liga Malaysia, Kalau dulu kalau kamu dengar, masa kita ada team Lions 12. Ingat tak? Siapa yang duduk Johor tu, Lions 12 from Singapore. Okay. Semua team dalam bola sepak Malaysia ni pakai padang rumput. Ingat tak masa tu?
Betul.
Team Lions 12 je pakai padang turf. So basically, when our team, our Malaysian football club from our country went to Singapore and play at the turf, they will lose the game. And then they mentioned that because of they are using turf, our players cannot adapt with the environment, turf environment tu. Lepas tu barulah ada team yang sebelum pergi lawan Lions 12 tu, they try to go for training at turf environment. They try to adapt with the turf before they go for competition at Singapore. Means that their players need to adapt first with the environment. Same goes to when we doesn't take account on the turf or surface area, surface structure, cow grass, turf and so on. Let's say for those who play sport the most, competitive level, sometimes you play home ground, sometimes you play away ground. Home, you feel happy because of your spectators will cheer for you. Sepak tak kena pun tepuk, goal pun lagi tepuk, for example. Dekat away, you nak sepak bola pun kena boo. That also referring to environment. What is the setting? What will happen to your emotion at that case? At away ground, for example. You sepak bola, nak sepak pun kena boo. You sepak out, lagi kena boo. So what will happen to your emotion? So this also referring to the environment, the settings, for example. Rather than weather as the environment. Training panas, tiba-tiba game hujan. So what is happening to your skill? Is it deteriorate or become the same? Kalau dekat sini, in our country, we tend to go for training in the morning. Pukul 8 masuk training session lah. Masa tu matahari naik. We feel in a very good emotion because of we can feel the sunrise, dapat matahari, dapat vitamin D, for example. The environment is very clear, cerah kan? Tapi masa game, malam. So what happens to your eyes, for example? Mata dah kecil sikit because of gelap. And then what will happen to your emotion? What will happen to your feeling? So how does this will affect to your skill, for example? For some person, training pagi, game malam, tak ada hal. It's okay. But for some person, dia tak boleh. That's the role of the coaches, trainers and so on, how to cope with that. So that despite the changing of environment setting, does not will affect to the motor skill. That will affect to the performance at the end. Boleh? This one, a bit on the psychological basis of motor control. Theoretical model, information processing, how does you receive information? Ecological approach, how does, let's say, environment factors affect your skill performance? And then concept of affordances. Affordances ni referring to opportunities to perform action. Let's say, Izzuddin receive ball from your teammate, and then you look at your surroundings, either you want to shoot or you want to pass back the ball to your teammate. So that is affordances. Opportunities to perform action. What is the best solution at that particular situation? For you at that particular time. So this refers to movement. What will happen to your movements? Either you want to pass, either you want to shoot, or you want to dribble, referring to the affordances. And then you also referring to environments and movement relationships. Based on what you see at your surroundings, at that time, for example, you feel that from you to the goal post is 3 meters. Okay, contoh 3 meters. You take the example 3 meters, and then from you to the goalkeeper to the goalpost, there are no obstacle. Are you free to shoot or not at that situation, Izzuddin? When you receive that stimulus, adakah kamu nak shoot ataupun you nak biar pass boleh?
Kalau one keeper shoot lah.
Okay, let's say in that situation, on that environment, you can see here, on that particular situation, in that particular setting, what is your movement that will be your most preference is you tend to shoot. So that is affordances, referring to opportunities to perform action. What is the best solution for you at that particular situation? Macam kita buat kereta, sebelum masuk highway kita buat slow kan. Tiba-tiba lepas tol je, depan clear kita pecut. So pecut means your motor skill performance in that particular situation, you try to press the accelerator, you tekan. So pushing is also motor skill, you tend to push. Okay, the accelerator means that you tend to move faster. Okay, because of you in your environments, the road is clear. So that is affordances. Let's say kalau tiba-tiba lepas keluar tol je, masuk highway nak keluar daripada tol, depan tu jam. Okay, you move from moving faster to moving slower. That is affordances. Okay, opportunities to perform action. Okay, on that situation. Okay, we move further a bit. Okay, IP, sophisticated processor of information. Okay, just like a computer, input your sensory information based on what you see. Okay, for those who used to play sports the most, okay, you have to rely heavily on your environment. You have to see, you have to feel the sensation of the particular object. Okay, when you are moving, you can see your speed. Okay, you can use your hearing to hear what's your teammates reaction. Biasanya kalau for those who play football ataupun for those who play team sport, okay, masa kita tak dapat bola, kawan tak panggil pun kita kan. Masa kita tengah free, tak ada orang nak panggil. Once kita dapat bola je, dapat pegang bola, dapat bola kat kaki je, tiba-tiba dah 10 orang panggil. So from that sound that you hear from your ear, for example, okay, there are let's say 5 person calling your names, your teammates, 5 orang panggil ni, okay, you have to scan dekat mana kamu nak respond, A, B, C, D or E. What is the best for you to respond? Tiba-tiba kamu respond dekat B, kamu pass dekat B, pass dekat B je, tiba-tiba B kena tackle. So it means that in that situation, okay, your sensory information doesn't know how to process the stimulus clearly. Maybe ada obstruction, dia tak nampak. The best possible situation on that particular situation, the best possible action at that particular situation is you pass to A. Okay, for example. So that is referring to sensory information. How does your receptors, okay, channel information to your central nervous system so that your output center here, okay, you will see a very good or you will produce and observe movement pattern. Movement pattern ni motor skill lah or your performance. Based on what you receive information, you will perform action. Observe movement pattern, okay, from your CNS, travel to your muscle fibers, okay, and then travel to your muscle and joint to perform that particular action. So that's the use of input and output of IP, okay, over here. Okay, a bit on this flow chart. Okay, environmental stimulus. Okay, environmental stimulus. Okay, maybe in your notes, okay, you can put down a note over here. Okay, what would be your stimulus that you can see from your environment? Cuba tengok contoh masukan masing-masing. Let's say Izzuddin play handball, Ridwan main swimming kan? Swimming tak ada teammates. So what will be your stimulus from your environment? Wave, air tu, distance. When you swim, you can see the distance. How far is your body position to the wall? Berapa jauh? Okay, that is your environmental stimulus. Okay, try to look to your own sport example. Okay, and then try to write down what is your environmental stimulus. Okay, for those who play cycling, masa kayu kepala dekat bawah. Okay, tengok tayar, the tire is rolling. And then sometimes you look up, tengok atas. Okay, tengok atas, you can see how far is your bicycle to the nearest object. Kalau jauh, you tend to speed more. Kalau dekat, you tend to slow down. So that is your environmental stimulus. Means that what you can detect. The first one, what is your detection capabilities? Belum proses lagi, you just detect. Means that if you play football, when you look up like this, tiba-tiba lari kepala kat bawah, and then you tend to look up. Okay, when you look up, straight away you can see what is your surrounding. What lies in front of you, your teammates how far from you, your opponents how far, for example, okay, the object, the ball, okay, how far, you try to detect information. So basically on this stimulus, okay, we try to look for regulatory conditions, RC, okay, regulatory conditions. We try to look for the size, the shape, distance, speed, direction, height of that particular object. Kalau you play sports that requires implement, racket, ball, shuttle and so on. Kalau your sports doesn't use implement, okay, you still relies on the RC. Okay, means that you try to look at your, kalau Ridwan swimming, masa swimming tu you kan tengok, biasa tengok mana? Kiri kanan ke tengok sebelah je? Ridwan masa swimming? Masa berlumba lah.
Biasa lumba tengok bawah kat tu.
Tengok bawah. Kalau nak
Nak
tengok
nampak saya tengok tepi.
apa dia?
Biasa dia pusing ke tepi untuk breathing je.
Okay, kalau nak tengok opponent macam mana?
Kalau nak tengok opponent biasa dia pusing tak? Dia pusing.
Okay, masa dia pusing tu, okay, you can see how far is your opponents behind you or in front of you. That is stimulus, environmental stimulus that you can detect. Okay, from detection, okay, goes to your sensory receptor, you detect, okay, goes to your perception system. Okay, perception system, and then goes back to, move further into neural processing, and then you process what will happen to your body movement. Okay, either you want to slow down or you want to move a bit faster. Okay, this can be transferred into movement output. Okay, movement output ni is your final outcome of your action. Okay, kalau Ridwan tadi nampak swimmer sebelah dia je, ke depan sikit je. So, if Ridwan is okay with that position, dia just maintain je lah. Okay, kalau tak okay, Ridwan will tend to swim faster to overcome, okay, the swimmers next to him. So that is happening to us when we try to detect information. So basically, okay, this process, okay, you need information from your memory system. That's why I need you to have a look on this. Okay, try to look for memory system structure, okay, regarding long-term memory process and also short-term memory process. So basically, anything that we have learned before this, anything that we have performed before this, anything that we have stored information before this, okay, is stored in our brain, okay, as a memory. Okay, kalau memory system structure ada dua jenis, long-term memory system and also short-term memory system. Okay, long-term is used to store information. Okay, dalam long-term ada tiga jenis, semantic, episodic and saya tengok lagi satu. Okay, semantic, okay, stores information about past experience. Okay, kalau kamu tengok object ni, straight away you will say this is a water bottle. Okay, based on your semantic information. Kalau kita tengok objek ni, straight away you notice that this is a remote control. Okay, because of you have the information regarding certain information. Kalau procedural, okay, for example, you have information regarding how to do the skill. So basically in this situation, okay, based on your movement output, okay, if you notice that you want to swim much more faster, so it means that you have to propel the body much more faster, and maybe you have to extend your range of motion a bit much more bigger. So this referring to memory system. Okay, and let's say if we talk about other skillful movement behavior, kalau we notice that the person is moving to the right, okay, and basically on that memory system structure that we have, kalau our opponent's player, full player moving to the right, when they want to kick the ball will go to the left. So we can predict. Okay, that's the use of memory. So basically, okay, from the long-term memory structure, you will send the information to your short-term memory structure, long-term to short-term. And then the short-term memory structure or the working memory is the one who will direct you what to do. Okay, based on your past experiences. So basically, this will be a cyclic process, okay, because of you need that sensitive feedback again. Okay, let's say kalau first performance is not good, okay, you sense that kalau let's say you play badminton lah, you main tennis lah, tennis. Okay, the first serve you want to hit ace serve. You baling bola, pukul laju. Masa pukul tu you notice that bola tu kena kepala racket tu, kena apa, ring dia. So you notice that the ball was tossed far to the air, for example, terlampau tinggi. So second trials, you toss the ball much more slower, so that you will have a very good hitting of the racket to that particular object. So that's the use of information processing. Okay, you have to use your memory system structure to relate, and then during that process, you also relies on your sensory feedback. Masa nak pukul bola tu, for example, you feel that your body is not in the right posture, so you still have the time to correct, just a minor adjustment. Kalau you don't have the time to correct your posture, maybe you can use the information on the following trials. Okay, that one referring to the open loop control system that we're going to study later on. Right. Any question, class, before I move further? All right. This one you can read through on your own. Information processing, just what I mentioned to you just now. Okay. Basically, what we have in our human body system structure is similar to what we have on our computer. Okay, this is very old graphic. Kalau tengok kat sini pakai hard disk lagi ni, pakai floppy disk. Budak-budak grown up tak nak pakai kan ni? Maybe dalam komputer tak nak pakai floppy disk ni. Saya masih ingat lagi dia punya memory 2.44 MB. Okay. Okay, that's the goal of my memory. Saya akan ingat, saya boleh ingat nombor. Kecuali nombor handphone kamu lah, kamu bagi masih tak ingat. Right? So basically, this referring similarly to what we have in our human body. Okay, we enter the information. Basically, to enter information to our brain, okay, we have to use our visual system to see. Okay, kinesthetic system to feel. Okay, vestibular to control our stability and so on. And then process, and then you can see a very skilled movement. Okay, in that case. So that's the gist of this chapter that we're going to discuss, okay, further in our discussion. So motor control theories, there are various. Ada yang dah zaman Tok Kadok punya. Basically the most theories in motor control theories is by Henry, Adams and Schmidt. And then much more older version of theories by Bernstein, Turvey, Kelso, and Talon. I think I met when I went to a conference in Finland. I listened to a talk by a renowned theorist in motor control. I forgot his name. Nanti next week saya tunjuk gambar dia. Saya lupa dah nama dia. Sama ada Schmidt ataupun orang lain. Okay, he mentioned about motor control theories. How does the nervous system, okay, govern our life performance and so on. So basically, these are some theories that you need just to know, not for you to remember and so on. Okay, it's good also for you to know the scholar, okay, in this area, Richard Schmidt. Okay, Richard Schmidt, Adams and Henry, Bernstein, Turvey, Kelso. Kelso ni yang buat finger movement study. Okay, based on perturbation, okay, you tend to perform your own preferred movement pattern. Okay, based on your own motivation. Kalau nak ambil contoh, siapa kat sini yang pernah kena kejar dengan anjing? Ada tak? Pernah tengok tak? Daripada berjalan biasa, tiba-tiba anjing kejar. Apa jadi dekat orang tu?
Laju.
Macam laju. So that's because of perturbation. You feel that the object that chasing you move faster and faster. So you tend to change your body state of system. Okay, become faster. So that you will follow the rule of perturbation. Okay, means that kalau dalam kehidupan kita ni, kalau terganggu sikit, we tend to modify. Okay, we tend to modify our life pattern a bit. Okay, just to maintain our life activities. Right, how is the motor program defined? A fixed program that can be run uninterrupted by peripheral feedback, can determine inside the head. So basically, this is regarding the motor program structure. Okay, there is a schema on everything that we perform. Okay, you have to notice regarding motor control theories. Okay, regarding schema. Okay, schema stored information regarding how we do motor skill. Walking, running, jogging, kicking, driving, and so on. Okay, we have our own schema. Dalam kelas ni, we have about 17 student. Okay, we have about 17 student. Okay, kalau let's say, when you go back, semua dekat rumah kan, and then ada yang dekat office and so on. Okay, when you go back at home, okay, look at your children, siapa yang dah kahwin, look at your spouse, husband or wife, try to observe their locomotor patterns. Try to observe their locomotor patterns. Locomotor patterns mean try to observe their walking pattern. Okay, you will notice that there are some differences on everyone that you have inside the house. Okay, on their locomotor patterns. Okay, some person, okay, based on the schema, when they walk, they tend to put their head down. Tengok bawah je. So that is all schema of walking. So kalau you notice that person, okay, dekat luar rumah, you nampak dia jauh, the pattern of that movement, kononnya pattern, straight away you can say that this is your spouse sebenarnya. Okay, because of that his or her pattern, okay, of doing things. Sama juga when you play sports. Kalau macam Izzuddin nak throwing, contoh lah, kalau nak shoot, kepala dia akan sengit macam ni. Ini contoh bukan betul Izzuddin. So kalau nak shoot, kepala dia akan sengit. So kalau you as a coach, okay, you observe your opponent's movement behavior. You observe that when the person tend to shift a bit their movement, so you can say that this person is going to smash, for example. So that is his schema of doing that particular motor skill. Sama juga macam for some person like us, okay, when we swing our arms when walking, sometimes we just do a light swing. Sekali kaki melangkah, swing sekali je. For some person, swing tu banyak. So that is schema of doing things, okay, for example. And then this just a continuation, general motor program, so on, you can read through. Okay, now we move into dynamical system approach. Okay, Bernstein's work. Okay, Bernstein's work, interaction of brain, body, and movement. How does our brain process information? Okay, how does our body produce that particular movement? Okay, there is a bit of interaction between the physiology of activity. Okay, how does you conserve your energy? Okay, by doing performance. Okay, let's say if we talk about novice, if we talk about intermediate performer, if we talk about elite performer, okay, how they move further into their skill performance, okay, we can see some changes in their oxygen intake and oxygen use, for example. Okay, and also a bit on, sorry, not a bit, but much more on the biomechanical approach, okay, of doing motor skill. Okay, biomechanical approach for those who are from science background. Okay, during your undergrad level, you have done sport biomechanics. Okay, in sport biomechanics, you ask your teammates or you ask your subject to do motor skills, and then you record that movement. Based on the recording of that particular movement, you tend to analyze. Okay, let's say from the picture over here at the bottom here, you can see the person is running. And then this is the, I forgot the term, but this is the frame by frame, okay, of that particular motion of running. You can see the movement coordination here, okay. You also can see the movement kinematics here. You also can see the posture here, okay. You also can see the range of motion that change during the particular movement. You can see, let's say from this picture here, you can see the range of motion of the left leg, okay, from almost 90 degrees, okay, to more than 90 degrees, extend, and what is happening when he tried to complete that particular movement. So this is referring to the biomechanic structure of motor skill performance. So when we perform motor skill, okay, like this, okay, you have to notice that, okay, if we want to have a very skillful movement performance, okay, if you want to have a very skillful movement performance, we have to unfrozen our degrees of freedom. Okay, degrees of freedom is referring to the joints that we have on our human body. Okay, let's say on our elbow, we can do flexion. Okay, we can do, kalau ni flexion, ni apa? Extension.
Extension.
Okay, we can do flexion. We also can do extension. So this coupled movement, flexion and extension, is considered as 1 DOF, 1 degrees of freedom. Try to imagine what we have on our shoulder. We can do this motion, we can do this motion, we can do this motion. On our wrist, we can do this motion, we can do this particular motion, for example. On our head, on our torso, on our hip, knee, and ankle. Okay, how many DOF that we have on our human body? Ada banyak kan? But basically for novice, they tend to freeze the available DOF. That's why if you observe a novice performing a skill, okay, their skill is rigid, nampak keras, because of they doesn't know how to unlock the available DOF that they have in their body. Sama macam kita juga dulu masa kita try first time bawa kereta. Pegang steering, genggam steering tu kuat-kuat sampai nak patah, nampak urat keluar, ni kamu lock, ni kamu lock. Instructor sebelah akan beritahu cuba relax, tapi we doesn't know how to relax because of we are still new with the skill. Compared to what you are right now, kalau you buat kereta, kadang-kadang you pegang sebelah jari je, boleh kan sekarang ni? Pegang macam tu je. Pegang dekat steering, kepit sikit je, and then pulas. Okay, because of you are too relaxed right now. Because of you knows how to use the DOF that you have inside the body. So that's the use of dynamical system approach. Okay, in solving movement performance, okay, issues, and how does we try to interact with our environmental stimulus that we can have in order to produce a very skillful movement performance. Okay, at the first place. Okay, we continue a bit more. Okay, the dynamic system approach. Okay, it refers to perception and action model. Kalau you refers back to our first chapter, okay, regarding constraint on movement performance. Okay, the last part on the figure, we have perception, we have action. So this is considered as perception action coupling. Okay, perception action coupling. Perception refers to what we perceive, what we can have, for example. Okay, let's say you drive a car. Okay, dekat depan kamu tu apa yang kamu nampak? Okay, what you feel. Kalau let's say you tekan accelerator tu terlampau kuat, you can feel you will tend to move faster. So that is perception. Okay, you when you drive a car, okay, what you see in front of you, for example, you will see how far is your vehicle to another vehicle. Okay, what is the vehicles that lies in front of you? Lori ke, kereta ke, motor, orang jalan kaki, bas, kapal terbang, contohnya. So that is perception, what you perceive, what you can see, what you can feel. Okay, try to relate to sport setting. If you play football, when you receive the ball, tiba kawan kamu panggil nama, Ali. So kamu pun angkat kepala, mana Ali? Okay, but if you are good in your hearing, kamu dengar je nama kamu dipanggil Ali, straight away you notice that Ali sebelah kanan. So that's the good of your hearing, and that is the good of your vision before this. Okay, before you receive the ball, means that you, sebelum kamu terdapat bola tu, you dah scan. Ali belah kanan, Abu depan, Acong belah kiri, belakang goalkeeper. So you have that information already. So that is perception. Okay, based on your perception, you tend to do your action. Dekat tengah-tengah tu ada IP. Dekat antara perception dengan action tu ada information processing. So that IP, these are the things that can differ between skillful and non-skillful movement performance, or good or bad performance. Okay, sometimes you dapat information tu tepat. Ali, Abu, Acong ada dekat sekeliling. Tapi masa dapat bola tu je, you doesn't notice that the ball is moving in a very good speed to you. So you tap the ball deviate from the body. So that's the bad of your IP. You doesn't notice, you just notice the person, but you doesn't notice the speed of the incoming object. Okay, that's the bad of your IP. This will affect your action model. So invariant motor behavior, okay, basically we're going to perform some variabilities on our human performance. Okay, variability means, for example, kalau contoh tadi Izzuddin nak shoot. Okay, nak shoot bola, kadang-kadang bola tu kalau contoh ni shooting in handball, selalu kalau shooting dia akan melompat kan, betul tak? Melompat sikit badan senyap, betul tak? Ataupun badan tegak, dia jarang senyap ke belah sini. Kalau tangan kanan dia akan senyap ke sini. Kalau tu bisa betul lah. Saya kadang-kadang tengok dekat Facebook, contoh handball kan. So means that when they try to shoot, they will jump. Okay, when they jump, if you want to relate to invariant motor behavior, how far is the jumping height? 10 centimeters, 11 centimeters, 12 centimeters, 15 centimeters. So that's referring to invariant features of jumping. Masa jump tu, and then when you want to shoot, okay, your swing, your arm swing, like this or like this. Kalau mula-mula macam ni, and then second trial, ball is a bit higher. So that the changes that occurs to you when you want to hit the ball is referring to invariant motor behavior. Invariant means that there are variability, okay, of your movement performance. Okay, nanti saya akan tunjuk contoh graf. Okay, cognitive structures, okay, refers to coordination. Sorry? Please?
Sorry.
Okay. We have dissipative structures. Okay, how you try to deviate or you try to eliminate, okay, some alien features. For example, okay, we have ecological approach. Okay, we have perturbation. Okay, perturbation, what is the disturbance, okay, that comes to you when you want to perform the skill. Contoh lagi sekali, shooting in handball. Masa tadi Izzuddin masa dapat bola, dia hanya one by one dengan keeper. Tapi masa dia nak baling tu, tiba-tiba ada player opponent datang, turun tangan dekat kepala dia. So what will happen to his body motion? Okay, because of that perturbation. Adakah dia akan tingkatkan sikit bola tu ataupun dia just pass back ataupun pass to other players. So that is perturbation. What is changing to you? Okay, what is changing to your body movement? Okay, is considered as your attractor state. Kalau tadi nak baling macam ni, tiba-tiba baling macam ni. Akan lain kan? Situation ni dengan atas sikit. So what is changing from this side, this angle to this angle is referring to attractor. Okay, based on that particular perturbation. Same goes to you. Kalau macam dalam kelas ni ada yang suka lari atas treadmill, you naik treadmill and then you minta kawan kamu set the speed daripada 5 km per hour from 5 to 10, from 10 to 15, from 50 to 20. So what will happen to your body? Slow jog, running, slow jog, running, sprinting, means that you, brisk walking, jogging, running and sprinting. Means that because of the increment of the speed, your body system akan berubah daripada slow phase of locomotor sampailah higher pace. So this referring to perturbation because of the speed of the treadmill was increased. So what happens to the body is considered as attractor state. What is your body is attracted to? In this situation, your body is attracted to the changing of the speed of the treadmill. Lagi laju, lagi cepat you punya movement change from slow phase of locomotor pattern into a higher phase of locomotor pattern. Sama juga from speed of 20, slowkan and then you tend to see your body system try to slow the body accordingly to the speed of that treadmill. Okay, over here we have perturbation. Okay, we have attractor. We also have invariant features, for example. We also have perception and action model. Kita dapat dekat monitor treadmill tu, nombor speed kan 20, dia menurun. So that's why we tend to decrease our body motion so that we can conserve some energy. That's why in this system, it also refers to the physiological effect, okay, to the body motion. Alright. Sikit lagi. Dynamic system is emergent. Dynamic system are emergent. This one you can read through on your own. Okay, system is self-organizing. Okay, in a self-organizing system, no substance have high control order. Okay, the model is not a hierarchical one. Means that based on perturbation, based on environment stimulus, it will self-organize. Macam tadi lah. Ada disturbance to your body motion, you tend to modify, okay, your movement pattern. Okay, I think we move into coordination before we stop at 7:30. Okay, based on this definition, the process by which an individual constrains or condenses his or her available degree of freedom into the smallest number of possible to achieve the goals. This is referring to coordination. Or this is much more simple definition of coordination, patterning of body and limb motion. Okay, patterning means the pattern of your body motion, the whole body. Ataupun patterning of limb motion. Kalau kita nak tengok Izzuddin punya drawing, kita fokus dekat tangan dia je. Also can be used as coordination pattern relative to the patterning of environmental objects. Bukan bola kan? And event. Event means what is happening to him when he want to throw the ball. Okay, over here performer choose a preferred coordination pattern. Nak balik macam ni ke? Nak balik macam ni ke? Nak lagi draw back and then balik. So that is his coordination pattern. And then when you become get used with the pattern, you become successful at performing the pattern. So basically, a new distinct pattern emerge from practice. Okay, from practice situation, you tend to improve your coordination. Means that daripada novice dulu, kalau you usually ingat balik masa novice, okay, you tend to perform large number of errors. Baling tak sampai because tak kuat. Baling tak kena target because of no accuracy. Baling tak laju contohnya. Okay, baling bola terlepas. So with practice, you tend to improve your displacement dulu. Displacement means you tend to try to just try to perform the skill. Just buat skill dulu. Okay, from displacement, you tend to increase the speed, makin laju. Okay, from displacement to speed, you tend to acceleration. Means that, okay, you have the power to throw the ball much more faster. So this will give effect to your coordination pattern. Become better, become smooth. Okay, in that sense. Okay, DOF, you can read through. Okay, just like what I explained to you just now. Okay, I will stop here. Okay, coordination. Okay, changes in coordination by Chow et al. In 2008. This is my PhD supervisor. okay, at Nanyang Technical University. Later I will share with you the paper, and then based on his studies on football chipping, okay, I produced this study with him and my other supervisor on maximum velocity kicking. So basically, when we want to perform a kicking an object, okay, our body will perform a movement like this. So you can see this is the movement kinematics. Okay, in order to study regarding coordination pattern, you can see the body structure. You can see the pattern of the lower limb muscle, lower limb lower limb, sorry, we can see lower limb muscle because of this is the skeletal figure. You can see the changes of the stepping, okay, the approach. Here is the ball contact. Okay, the contact is here. You can see the follow through until peak hip flexion, for example. So this is the flow of kicking a ball. Okay, from this figure, okay, from this flow, okay, we can produce a graph. Okay, the graph kalau kamu boleh buka you future masing-masing. Okay, dalam tu saya ada share papers on what I did during my studies. So I will share to you today before we start at 7:30. Oh sorry, saya tak ada dalam tu. Saya kena buka future. System. So this is my paper that I did during my PhD studies. Okay, Keith David is my supervisor, my first supervisor. Now he is in Sheffield Hallam University in UK. Okay, Chow Jia, my external supervisor. Now he is in NTU Singapore. And then my other supervisor is Professor Graham Kerr, now is in QUT in Brisbane, Australia. So basically, you can see the topic here, changes in organization of instant kicking as a function of varying compression and tensile material. So organization is referring to coordination, okay, the first place. Okay, later on, lepas habis kelas ni, I hope all of you can read the paper, try to understand what was written inside the paper, how does coordination very important for us to study expert movement performance. And then basically we try to track, okay, this kind of figure. Dekat future masing-masing ada paper ni, boleh baca. So this is known as the coordination, okay, coordination pattern. Kalau kamu tengok kat sini ada 4 line graph, okay, 4 line graph, okay. There are 4 line graph referring to ball kicking skill, okay, performed by less skilled performer and also skilled performer. And then over here is the ball contact. So basically, daripada line graph ni kamu nampak dot, dapat line hitam, nampak dot besar ni. This is referring to movement variability. Setiap kali kita buat skill, okay, walaupun mata kasar nampak sama, tapi based on tracking, there are some variability, okay, of that particular skill performance. So for us as a specialist in this area, okay, you also, okay, specialist in motor control training, for example, which is the best movement, okay, for that particular situation, based on this movement variability, okay, based on this movement variability. This one we track from knee motion and also hip motion, so we can produce this kind of line graph. So basically, in other example that was produced by Anderson et al. Okay, kalau novice perform a numbers of training hours and so on, kicking the ball, okay, the movement variability will become better. So that's why, okay, the rule of thumb in sports, okay, you have to do a lot of practice. Okay, either you want to do specific practice or discipline practice or focus practice for example. Kalau nak good in kicking, you have to do kicking for numbers of trial. Dah bagus dekat kicking, and then you try to include variation. Okay, kalau dulu kicking 10 meter to the goal post, 50 meters, 20 meters on. At the first place, you try to improve the skill first so that we can have a very good movement variability. Okay, in that sense. Okay, this one you can read through inside your year future. I'll included my paper over there, and then try to understand what is the importance of studying movement coordination that lies in our chapter for today. Alright, the rest yang selain selebih-lebih ni, I will cover next week. Ada sikit lagi. Alright. Any question class before I stop for today?
Doctor, I have one question.
Yes.
Let's say if Faris.
Faris, okay.
Alright. Let's say if our athletes disability, which is a visual impairment.
Okay.
So they're playing a blind football.
Okay.
So what do you think to help them in improving their motor skill? Is it motor skill or hearing skill? Then that they need to focus on.
Okay, basically for blind football, they relies heavily on the sound. Sound kan dia kena dengar ball jingle kan. Basically when the ball moving, they will try to detect where is the ball. Kanan ke, kiri ke, depan ke, belakang ke. And then when they are with the ball, okay, they try to have a contact so that the ball cannot be taken away from other opponents. So basically in this area, okay, to help the players to master the skill. Okay, to help the players to master the skill. Maybe at the first place, okay, you need a large number of contacts. Okay, contacts mean player with the ball. Okay, so that they can have the ball sense. Masa bola dekat kaki, so what is their action that they want to perform? Nak dribble ke? Nak pass ke? Okay, basically in blind football, kan dia ada instructor ataupun coaches yang ada dekat belakang goal post kan. Okay, the instructor will give direction. So compared to normal body football, okay, players knows already where to shoot. Tapi dekat blind football, okay, the players need to have a very good hearing on the instruction by the coach. So you have to combine with that instruction and ball sense. Maybe at the first place, pergi kepada ball sense dulu. Okay, daripada ball sense tu, they know how to master the skill. They do, contohnya macam tapping, kicking, pass to the right leg, pass to the left leg pass to the right leg. Because dalam dribbling, dia akan buat macam tu. Dia tak boleh dribbling ke depan. Kalau kamu tengok video, biasanya blind footballers, they will dribble macam ni. Dia bukannya dribble ke depan. Everybody akan dribble ke depan. Tapi kalau blind football, dia kena dribble macam ni. So means that you know how to break up the skill. Okay, which one is most important first? Basically, the most important is they have to master the skill with the ball. Once they have mastered the skill, barulah combine with instruction, okay, for the direction, okay, at that particular place. And then dalam blind football ni, cues, verbal cues. So they have to know how to detect their teammates voice. Kan kalau dalam blind football 5 orang main kan, 5 orang main, kadang dia boleh, your opponents can interfere your hearing. Panggil je nama, dia terlepas, okay, because tak nampak. So try to overcome that disturbance first, so that during competition, that disturbance tu dah tak jadi dah. Kalau main bola biasa pun kadang-kadang kita dapat bola, opponent minta pun kita terbagi, okay, because we doesn't know how to differentiate the cues, okay, based on the verbal information. So basically on my advice on the blind football, okay, depends on your player's state, Your players tu state dia dekat mana? Dia punya stage. Baru nak main ke? Memang dah lama main ataupun dah kategori expert. So basically kalau expert, banyakkan juga ball sense and then banyakkan juga on tactical. So when you play football, okay, sometimes you have a pattern. Zigzag punya passing ke, okay, ataupun based on tactical by the coaches lah. Okay, for example. Baik, Faris.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you.
Any other questions? The rest. Saya nak buka YouFuture. Abdullah Ali tak ada kan tadi? Abdullah Ali tak ada, tak nampak. Ahmad Muhammad pun tak ada juga. Hafizuddin Jalil tak ada.
Ada bro, ada.
Nanti sign internal lah.
Okey, baik.
Boleh balik rumah. Okay. Ahmad Syahid
Ada prof, saya.
nanti sign internals. Fatin Fazliana tak ada. Inta Sohaila tak nampak. Nur Aliyah Nazira ada. Nazira tak ada. Syahira Abu Talib tak ada. Nur Nazura binti Jaluluddin tak ada juga. Okay, kelas. Ada soalan? Saya stop dulu ni.